Hi, this is Kirsty from Lloyd's Sewing, and in this video we are going to show you how you can use the Brother narrow zipper foot for a variety of different projects. So let's start by comparing the narrow zipper foot compared to the standard zipper foot that comes with your machine. So this is the standard zipper foot that comes with all the Brother machines. It's an I foot. And if we look at that next to the narrow zipper foot, which is called the I plus foot, you can see there that we don't have these extra bars on the edges. So on this one, the zip teeth would normally run underneath there, but when you get to the zipper pull, you'll always find that that ends up catching on that. So the narrow zipper foot allows us to run all the way along the edge of the zip without having any of these extra pieces of metal sticking out to either side. The other thing to notice between the two is that this one has got a matte finish, and that means that it's got a non-stick coating. So as well as working really well with your standard cotton fabrics, woven fabrics, polyesters, anything like that, it also works really well with vinyl fabrics such as this. So anything that's coated, vinyl, oilcloth, leather, it's going to work really well because it doesn't stick to the fabric as you're sewing, whereas the standard zipper foot, that would. The narrow zipper foot also works really well with fine zips, chunky zips, and you can also use it with metal zips, and then it's really good for using with piping cord as well. Later on in the video I'll show you how you can use it for other features as well as zips. The narrow zipper foot is really easy to attach onto your machine. All we need to do is remove whichever foot you've got on the machine. I've just got the standard J foot on at the moment, and the feet just release with the little black button at the back. And I just press that and remove my standard foot. And then my narrow zipper foot is going to just clip on in its place. So we match the bar here up with your little gap underneath on the presser foot holder. And you can either run the bar along and then press the button at the back and clip it in place. Alternatively, some people find it easier to match it up underneath and then drop the foot down, and then it will clip in place. You just do whichever way is easiest for you. Now you'll notice that we need to have the needle in a set position in order to use this foot, because if, for example, I had my needle position in the centre, the needle is going to come down and hit the foot, and we definitely don't want that. So you can have it in two separate positions. You can have the needle position to the left, which means that the width position is at 0, and remember this has to be a straight stitch, no decorative stitches here. Or if you want to move the needle so it's on the other side, just adjust your width position so that the needle is at the 7mm point. And now when we bring the needle down, we can see it's on the right hand side of the foot instead. Now this would depend which side of the zip you want to be working on. So now we're going to use the narrow zipper foot to attach our zipper tape onto my fabric. I have already attached this side, and I've used decorative zip and top stitched it in place instead of putting it on the inside, so you can see just how close we can get to the zipper teeth using this foot. So all we need to do is match up the edge of the foot with the edge of our zipper tape here. And once we get to the point where we're running along the edge of the zip here, you can see how easy it is to keep the edge of the foot up against the edge of the zip teeth. And I've just pinned my zip in place, but some people like to stitch baste it in place, other people like to use the glue pens. So you attach your zip in whatever way feels comfortable to you. But it's so easy to run along the edge of the zip teeth there. Now this zip has got a large pull on it because it is a decorative zip. So all I'm going to do is just lift the foot with the needle down and just pull this back and out the way. And then we can pop the foot back down and carry on sewing without any interruptions from the zip pull. And there we have, the zip has been attached all the way along the edge, and you can see it's a really neat stitch. Probably should have used a contrasting thread so you could have seen that a little bit better, but my stitch line is running all the way along and it's really nice and even. Now the next thing I want to do is I need to now stitch this loose piece of zip tape down onto my fabric, as I have done on this side. Now I'm going to carry on using the narrow zipper foot, but this time instead of using it to run along the edge of the zip, I'm going to use it to run along the edge of the zip tape. So I'm going to move my needle position across, just pop the thread underneath the foot there so it doesn't get tangled, and this time I'm going to run, so now the edge of my zipper foot is now running along the edge of my zipper tape, the outer edge of the zipper tape. But you will find that this zipper foot will fit on almost all zipper tapes. They've really thought about the measurements here and the measurements of the zipper tape, that it's not going to catch on this side at all, but I can use it along the edge here to do a really nice top stitch. Just make sure that all my fabric's pulled down underneath. Now I'm getting close to that zip pull. I'm just going to do the same again so that I don't catch it. Remember, with the needle down, raise the foot, pull your zipper pull out of the way, pop the foot back down and continue to the end. And there we have, the zipper is attached very neatly on both sides. It's nice and secure and it's nice and neat on the inside there as well. Now let's look at the non-stick properties of this narrow zipper foot. So I have already attached my zipper tape down this side because that was the boring bit, but now I want to show you how I'm going to top stitch along this edge, and the foot will not stick to it at all, it will just glide straight over. The other thing I have changed is the needle in the machine. I have swapped it for one of the super universal needles. Now we do these in 3 different weight sizes, a size 80s, a size 90s and also a size 100s. And I'll just pull one of these out of the packet so you can see. They're very dark, the needles, and that's because of the coating that they've got on them. They've got a non-stick coating on them. They're also very smooth, they feel very slippery, but they are a standard flat back needle, so they will go in the majority of domestic machines, and you just choose the weights depending on the fabric that you're working with. So I've gone with a 90s because this is a little bit thicker and I am going to be going through 2 layers of it as well as the zipper tape. So I am just going to fold my vinyl back. So I've already stitched it in place. I've got a nice, neat, even gap all the way along here. and I'm going to put the edge of the foot on the edge of the fold of my fabric. And I'm just top stitching all the way down the edge. And that is just gliding over, and I can feel there's no stick on the needle either. Sometimes when using fabrics like this and a standard needle, or even a Microtex needle, which is perfect for this kind of fabric, you still feel that stickiness. Whereas this needle and the foot are just gliding over the fabric with no problem, and with no drop stitches either. So I've just gone right through to the end there, lovely and even all the way along. And if you wanted to now, on the inside, we've now got the excess flap of the zip. On some of my samples that I've done, you can see that I've stitched along one side, and then all I did was the same again, but I just moved the needle position over to the right instead. So you can end up with 2 rows of stitching. You just use the edge of the zipper foot here along the edge of the fold of your fabric, and your stitch lines are both really even and an equal distance apart all the way down. As well as using the narrow zipper foot for, as it is called, for zips, like we have done here, I also really like to use this foot for piping cord. So if we have a look on the machine here, I have got quite a chunky piping cord, and I've just fed that into my fabric, and I'm just running the piping cord right up along the edge of the foot there. And it's so easy to keep the piping up against the edge of the foot, and it stitches it in place nice and tight up against the cord there. Okay? But not only do I like using it for piping cord, I also use this foot in probably almost all of my dressmaking projects. So if we have a look over here, I really like to use it when I'm top stitching. So you can see on the edge of the collar here, I wanted to just attach this braid onto it, and I use the narrow zipper foot as a guide to be able to stitch really close to the edge of my fabric. And then I've also used it on this top for my top stitching or edge stitching along here, so where I've got the seam and I've just stitched the seam down. I've used it on the sleeve as well. And if I just grab the foot off the machine, you can see what I've done there is I've put the edge of the foot along the edge of the fold of my fabric there, and that is where my stitch line has been. And then it's also really good when you're doing your understitching for your facing. So you always understitch your facings down and all your seams to the facings to hold that in place and to help it roll over, so you get a nice neat finish on the top edge of your dressmaking. And I love using it for that. So I'm never without it. Wherever I go, if my machine's going with me, my narrow zipper foot is always with me. Thank you so much for watching Lloyd's sewing video on the Brother narrow zipper foot.